Mr. Lewton?
If I'm not, I should fire the guy who painted the door.
So this is what a private investigator looks like. I expected someone more heroic.
Heroism costs extra. What can I do for you, Miss...
Mrs., actually. And the name is Carlotta.
Okay, Mrs. Actually. Carlotta it is. What's a girl like you doing out on a night like this?
I want to hire you, Mr. Lewton.
Please, call me Lewton. Mr. sounds so formal.
How much do you charge for a simple investigation?
I don't know. I've never had a simple investigation. A tricky one is 20 a day.
I'll give you 200 in advance, plus expenses.
For 200, I guess I should treat you with some respect.
Oh, I wouldn't ask a guy like you to attempt the impossible.
What's the case?
I want you to find a man named Mundy.
Why do you want to find Mundy?
Do you know him?
No, and this case will go a lot faster if you let me ask the questions.
You like to be in control, don't you, Lewton?
If you don't pull the strings, then you're the puppet. Tell me about you and Mundy.
I've been a lonely woman, Lewton.
You amaze me.
Be surprised.
Shocked, maybe, but not surprised.
Mundy is my lover, Lewton. Or used to be. He's been away for a while, over in Sort. He came back to Ankh-Morpork a couple of days ago on the Milka. But he didn't come to see me. I think he may be having an affair. You're wondering whether my husband knows about it.
Actually, I was wondering when you were going to give me the money.
My husband passed away several years ago.
I hope the poor guy was smiling at the time. Is there anything you can tell me about Mundy that might help me find him?
He's got blue eyes, brown hair, and a black heart. You'd like him.
Has he got any friends in Ankh-Morpork?
Does anyone?
How tall is he?
I don't know. I don't picture him standing up.
What was Mundy's business in Sort?
I don't know. I never asked about his work, and he never told me.
Must be a very straightforward relationship.
As simple as they come.
Where can I find the ship he came in on?
Down at the wharf.
Have you been there yourself?
I avoid places like that. Women and seamen.
Forget I asked. This is a bad neighborhood for you to come into alone, Carlotta.
I can take care of myself.
I believe you.
Good. Trust is important.
I said I believed you. I never said I trusted you.
Don't you like me, Lewton?
I like a lot of things. I like dogs, but I wouldn't trust one not to bite me.
I won't bite.
Shame. I haven't been bitten in a long while. I'd better get started on your case. Where can I contact you?
I'll be in touch. Be seeing you, Lewton.
I hoped I would see her again, because she still hadn't paid me. Still, it wasn't every day that a beautiful woman offered me a case. Frankly, it wasn't often that anybody offered me a case. And 200 would certainly help pay the rent, if I had anything left over from my bar bill. The wharf was on the upmarket side of the river, in the city of Ankh. The Morpork docks on the other side of the river were not a place wise travelers disembarked at. But then again, wise travelers tried to avoid Ankh-Morpork altogether. But if you traveled a lot, it was hard to miss, like malaria. Are you the first mate?
Arr! Shiver me timbers! Hoist the main brace!
Let's start again. Are you the first mate?
Aye, that I be.
You're not going to get any money off me, so you can drop the fake accent.
Sorry, you know how it is. Some people are stupid enough to fall for that sort of thing. What can I do for you?
When do you sail?
As soon as we've got her loaded.
How much is passage?
Where are you looking to go?
I don't know. Sort, perhaps.
We've just come from there. It'll be a long time before we get back there again.
Did you bring any passengers?
Sure. We always try to take a couple of passengers. They pay their way, and if there's a big storm, they are very useful as to sacrifice to the angry sea gods. Of course, we tell people they were washed over the side.
Do you sacrifice passengers often?
No. The captain doesn't like it. He says it's bad for business. I said that we were advertising ourselves as offering an exciting tour of the Circle C. But he pointed out that most people would expect the tour to be above the water. If I'd had my way, we'd have thrown some people off the last voyage.
Bad omens?
The whole crew had a bad feeling of dread from the moment we set off.
Looking at the state of the ship, that doesn't come as a surprise. What were the passengers on the last voyage like?
There were 3 of them. One of them seemed all right, but the other 2, I don't know about them. There was something strange about them.
What do you know about a woman named Carlotta?
Doesn't ring any bells, I'm afraid.
What was strange about these passengers?
I don't know. One of them seemed kind of foreign. I mean, more foreign than most.
This is the Milka, isn't it?
That's what it says on the prow.
It's impossible to read anything written on that hull.
Just because you can't read it doesn't mean it isn't there. Reality is subjective, after all.
Don't get all existential with me.
It was more ontological than existential.
That's a really bad habit you've got there.
What? Oh, sorry. I picked up a bad case of philosophy in Ephoebe a couple of years ago, and I haven't been able to get rid of it since. Just can't seem to shake it off. Normal as anything 1 minute. Next moment, I'm wondering if anything can truly be said to exist. A bit of a drawback when you're supposed to be navigating.
Okay, assuming the existence of an objective shared universe, is this the Milka?
Yes.
Can I have a look on board?
No.
That better not be some kind of philosophical objection.
No one gets on board without Captain Jenkins' permission.
Where is the captain?
I don't know. But you could try the Cafe Ankh. He usually goes there when he's in Ankh-Morpork. If it exists, of course.
Was there a man named Mundy on the last voyage?
It's funny you should ask that. You're the second person today to have an interest in Mundy.
Who was the first?
A dwarf. He didn't give his name. I don't think he was from round here, though.
What about Mundy? What was he like?
I don't pry into the passenger's business. But for a man who came on board pretty happy, he seemed pretty unsettled when he left. Not that I blame him. Something was definitely amiss on this last voyage.
Do you know where he is now?
Mundy? No. Like I said, I don't pry into passengers' business.
Unless you actually look through their luggage after they've been washed over the side.
Hey, what are you inferring?
I'm not inferring anything. I'm implying that you might have had a look at their luggage at one point.
If I had, I certainly wouldn't admit it to you.
Which either means you didn't look, or you didn't find anything of interest.
You better watch your steps, son. It's not good to make accusations like that.
Don't worry. Anything we discuss is strictly between you, me, and anyone else I tell. Since that was who I'd learnt about that from in the first place, I didn't feel I had much to gain by going over old ground. I figured the golem wouldn't notice that the crowbar had gone missing. Not that I'm saying it didn't need it, just that I'd figured I'd get away with stealing it.
You can't recall if the whiskey knocked you flat, or if everything was a blur when you met her. All that you remember are the tunes of a vampire, a melody Alaska stale, broken drum ale, wondering how long till you meet again on the bank of the Ankh. Too much to drink, you could barely even think. Too much bear hunger.
I thought I told you never to play that song again. Oh, sorry, Mr. Lewton. It's just I wasn't expecting you to call by tonight, and... You weren't expecting me? It's only been 8 years, Samael. I guess my memory ain't what it used to be. I don't know why Samael put up with my temper. He could have broken every bone in my body if he'd wanted to, but that's what made him special, I guess. That he'd take almost any kind of abuse from the clientele, and he'd still be there at the piano, playing better than anyone else in Ankh-Morpork. Hello, Nobby.
Hello, Lewton. How you been keeping?
I've been worse. Of course, I've been better, too. And I've been a hell of a lot better and not much worse.
That's good, isn't it?
Don't worry. If Commander Vimes sees us together, I'll tell him I made you talk to me.
It's not that I don't like you, Lewton. I mean, we was friends and all. But it's just... well...
It's just he'd bite your head off if he saw you talking to me.
He'd go spare.
How you been keeping, Nobby? How's the rest of the watch?
Not so bad, Lewton. Been keeping myself busy. Been working with Sergeant Colon.
How is old Fatty Colon?
Still fat. I'll tell him I saw you.
No, you won't.
Okay, so maybe I won't. I was just being trite.
Polite.
Yeah, that's the one.
I guess I never really understood why it was that you didn't get kicked out as well, Nobby.
Me? I ain't never done nothing wrong.
Don't give me that, Nobby. When you were serving as quartermaster under the Duke of Pseudopolis, it was widely known that several items from the stores were found in your kit.
That was all above board. I had all the paperwork for him.
Your kit at the time consisted of 2 warehouses. I just think Vimes had a grudge against me.
Lewton, I know you're my friend and all, but you took a bribe.
Are you trying to tell me you never took a bribe?
Never.
The ham from Harga's House of Ribs?
Evidence.
The pocket clock from the Suicide in the Shades?
I wanted something to remember him by.
The money in the petty cash box?
Mislaid by someone.
Misappropriated by you.
I never misanthropated anything.
I just want to understand why it was that you could get away with all your petty theft, and I couldn't get away with one act of weakness.
Well, you see,
Just say it, Nobby. I'm not gonna hold it against you.
well, I reckon Mr. Vimes thinks that a bit of petty theft ain't something to get excited about. I ain't admitting anything, mark you. Nothing's ever been proved. Got compared to some of the stuff that goes on in this city. But someone who's taken a bribe, well, that's like allowing the rich to avoid justice.
That wasn't why I did it.
I know. But you know Vimes.
Yeah, I know Vimes all right. What's Vimes up to these days?
He got married.
Married? He was only ever married to his job.
Nah, straight up. He married into nobility.
Old Stoneface in the nobility. That'd drive him crazy.
Well, he's sort of nobility himself now.
What?
They made him commander of the watch. And we got a great new premises down on Pseudopolis Yard. They're full of paintings and vases and all sorts.
Full?
Well, maybe not as full as when we moved in, but pretty full.
I'll have to call round sometime.
Yeah, that'd be good. We got a lot more members in the watch these days. And we got a new dartboard.
Life in the fast lane, huh? Do you seriously think it's a good idea for me to call around? I mean, Vimes isn't gonna like it.
Whatever you may think about him, he's loyal to his job. I can't say he'll welcome you with open arms, but he won't stop you.
Do you know anything about a man named Mundy?
I'm not getting drawn into anything while I'm off duty. Wait till I'm back at the yard.
Have you heard of the Milka? It arrived in town a short time ago.
How long ago?
3 days.
That's strange.
Why?
Well, there's been a string of odd murders in the last 3 days.
What do you mean, odd? I mean, this is Ankh-Morpork we're talking about.
I'm not sure I should discuss the details with a pavilion.
A civilian, Nobby. How much have you had to drink?
I'm as sober as the day I was born.
That's a frightening thought. Since that was who I'd learnt about that from in the first place, I didn't feel I had much to gain by going over old ground. What do you know about a woman named Carlotta?
I'm not getting drawn into anything while I'm off duty. Wait till I'm back at the yard.
Do you know anything about some passengers that came into town by ship a few days ago?
That's not much to go on.
You're a corporal in the watch. You're supposed to have a keen, insightful mind.
They brought that regulation in after I joined.
Has there been a dwarf around asking questions?
Can't this wait till I get back to the yard? I'm off duty.
I'll catch you later, Nobby. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, don't get caught doing anything I wouldn't do. I decided not to disturb Samael while he was working. Are you Captain Jenkins?
That depends on who's asking.
Don't play games. I'm just after a few answers.
That song really put you in a bad mood, didn't it?
If you're trying to get me angry, it's working.
No need to get upset. You need to drink more and think less.
If I drank any more than I do now, I'd never think again.
That's the ticket.
So, you're the captain of the Milka.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately?
Ordinarily, I'd be happy being a captain of a fine ship like the Milka. But after this last voyage, I'm thinking of taking up farming.
Tough journey?
I don't want to talk about it.
What was so bad about the last voyage?
I told you I don't want to talk about it.
Sometimes it helps to talk about these things.
Why would I want to talk about it?
All right, let's put that another way. I want to talk about it, and the sooner I finish talking to you, the sooner you can get back to drinking.
By that logic, my best bet would be to just ignore you and carry on drinking.
I was never much good at logic. I did home economics at school. I was hoping you'd let me have a look around on the Milka.
I was hoping that I was going to make enough money to be able to buy myself a harem of exotic dancers called Chantel. But it looks like we're both going to be disappointed.
Is there any way I can persuade you to let me on your ship?
Is there any way I can persuade you to go away?
What do you know about a woman named Carlotta?
There's no one I know.
On your last voyage, there were 3 passengers, right? Mundy and 2 others.
You tell me. You seem to know more about my ship than I do.
I just want to know what you can remember about them.
I remember that we picked them up in Ecclepon, and I know they had a lot of cargo. Oh, and one was a woman, and one was a man, I think.
You think he was a man?
There was something particularly foreign about him. I'm not sure what.
Where's Ecclepon?
Up near the hub. God's forsaken place. All there is to do there is drink and eat fish sandwiches with no tops on.
Sounds like a long way from the Circle C.
We got lost, all right. It's easy to mix up port and starboard when you've drunk too much port.
Are they still on board?
Nope. We dropped them in Ankh-Morpork. And before you ask, I have no idea what they were doing here. That's not my business.
I was beginning to realize that Captain Jenkins only had 2 questions to ask his passengers. Where are you going? And how much money have you got? Has there been a dwarf around asking questions?
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Do you know anything about the recent murders in Ankh-Morpork?
I know that there are always murders in Ankh-Morpork. See Ankh-Morpork and die, they say. Often in the same day.
That's not a very helpful answer.
It wasn't a very sensible question.
I'll see you around, Captain. I headed over to Sudopolis Yard, but Nobby wasn't there yet. I decided to come back later. Still here?
Not for much longer, I hope.
Do you know anything about the recent murders in Ankh-Morpork?
Sorry, I wouldn't know anything about that.
Since that... I didn't much like being jammed into a crate and loaded onto the ship, but I could think of worse fates. Like being jammed into a crate full of rats and loaded onto the ship. What's your name then, little fellow? The hold was dark and dank, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. It was just flotsam. I pulled the label out of the wreckage. It had writing on it that I couldn't understand. I searched one of the bunks, but found nothing useful, and nothing I wanted to think too closely about. I searched a bunk and found a small scrap of cardboard. It could have been anything. There was a number on the back. Either a 6 or a 9. It was hard to say. I'd managed to remain hidden on the ship, but I knew my luck couldn't last forever, because I'd stopped being lucky around age 12. The first mate looked less than happy, but I don't think he saw who I was as I dived in elegantly on my Ankh. Fortunately, the crust of the Ankh was soft that night, and I escaped both injury and discovery, although I needed 2 baths just to feel dirty. I headed over to... I decided to come back later. On an ordinary night, I'd sit around waiting for business. But this night, business was coming to me, and bringing trouble with it. Business, I didn't mind, but trouble was an unwelcome guest. And like all unwelcome guests, it was hard to ask it to leave. And by the 3rd day, it was generally wearing your shirts and leaving its stuff in your bathroom.
Hello, Mr. Lewton. I've been expecting you.
I should hope so. This is my office. How'd you get in?
Through the door. It was only locked. I know all about doors.
Good. Use this one to get out.
I have a message for you, Mr. Lewton.
I don't take messages from strangers.
Then let me introduce myself. My name is Mr. Al-Khali.
I don't take messages from dwarves named after cities.
My name isn't important.
You seem to think it was.
I've come to warn you to stay clear of the Mundy case.
I'll bear that in mind. Now get out.
If you don't stay clear of the Mundy case, something untoward may happen to you.
This is Ankh-Morpork. Something untoward may happen to me whether I investigate this case or not. Now either you get out or I'll throw you out.
Don't say I didn't warn you, Mr. Lewton.
Don't say I didn't ignore you, Mr. Al-Khali. A dwarf named after the Klatchian city of Al-Khali. And a threat. This case was getting more interesting by the minute. All we needed was a troll and a member of the undead, and we could open an ethnic comedy on Broadway. Hello again, Nobby.
Hello, Lewton.
Did I disturb you?
No. What made you think that?
Well, there appears to be smoke coming from your ear.
Oh, that, well, I've been working hard, you see.
Working so hard that your ears have caught fire. Don't worry about it, Nobby. It's not like I'm going to report you.
I have been working, see?
Oh, sure. I never doubted it for a second. How's work treating you then?
Not so bad, Lewton. I've been busy, though. Rushed off my feet.
Yeah, I can tell. What do you know about a woman named Carlotta?
Never heard of him.
I don't suppose you've investigated the passengers on the Milka, have you?
Of course I have.
Sorry, but you're not the most, diligent of investigators.
I work as hard as any man of my rank.
You're the only man of your rank. There's 3 dwarfs, 2 troll, a woman and a zombie with the same rank as you, but you're the only human male. I know you're human because you carry a bit of paper to prove it, signed by the midwife. The maleness, I'll take that on trust.
Do you want me to help you or not?
What have you got?
Well, I interviewed one of the passengers.
What did you learn?
That's official watch business.
You didn't learn anything, did you?
Not as such, no.
Any chance I could interview this passenger?
I don't see why not. She's down in the Cafe Ankh now.
Well, that's something, I guess. Has there been a dwarf around asking questions?
I don't know.
Do you know a dwarf by the name of Al-Khali?
Never heard of him.
How did you know he was male, then?
You can't trick me. Everyone knows dwarves don't use the female pronoun.
Okay.
Mind you, I've always wondered what a female pronoun was.
One of nature's wonderful mysteries, Nobby.
Is it normally kept covered or what?
I'm going to leave it to your rather uninventive imagination, Nobby. Any word on these murders?
Nothing yet, but our top investigators are working on the case 24 hours a day.
Nobby?
Yeah?
Are you one of those crack investigators?
Yeah? Why?
Never mind. Just a thought. Do you know anything about a man named Mundy?
Never heard of him.
Have you learnt anything about the Milka?
Yeah, not as such, no.
You go to great lengths to conceal how little work you do, don't you?
Hey.
Catch you later, Nobby. The troll stepped out of the shadows like light was too intimidated to illuminate him. He seemed like the quiet sort, but you got the feeling that if you stepped out of line, you'd get your teeth kicked down your throat. For that matter, he could kick your throat down your chest and your chest through your legs. But I was hoping it wouldn't come to that, because none of my clothes would fit.
Find Therma.
Sorry, friend, I don't understand.
Find Therma.
You want me to find Therma? Is that it? Well, what is it? A person? A thing? Look, if we're going to carry out a conversation, it'd help for you to talk.
Find Therma.
Okay, find Therma. What's your name, friend? There was something about a troll that big that made you want to call him friend.
Malachite. Find Therma. You've got to find her.
I wasn't about to argue with a troll that could twist my head off and use it as a cocktail onion. Okay, friend, what can you tell me about her? Any suggestions of where I should start looking?
Used to sing at the Octarine Ballad. Find Therma. Got to find Therma.
How can I contact you?
Find Therma.
That was all he said. I guess he wasn't very bright. But then there's things under damp logs that are brighter than most trolls. Hello again.
Hello.
Have you heard of a singer called Therma?
Never heard of her.
I don't suppose you know a troll named Malachite.
Not Mount Malachite.
Describe him.
Big, tall, stupid, not very talkative.
That's the one.
He went down for theft years ago. I seem to remember he had an accomplice.
An accomplice?
Yeah, he denied it, but we all thought he was working with someone.
I don't reckon he was the brains of the outfit. What happened?
He escaped. Not that long ago either. As far as I know, he's on the lam. Why? You've seen him?
No, just interested. Still here?
Not for much longer, I hope.
Do you know a troll by the name of Malachite?
Doesn't ring any bells, I'm afraid.
Do you know anyone named Therma?
Doesn't ring any bells, I'm afraid.
I gave the description of Al-Khali to the first mate, and he recognized it.
Yeah, that's the dwarf who was asking about Mundy before. Strange little fellow.
A word of advice. Don't use phrases like strange little fellow when you're talking about dwarves. Especially not drunken dwarves, or dwarves like Al-Khali who seem to think they're invulnerable. Do you know anyone named Therma?
Doesn't ring any bells.
I gave the a word. What was strange about these passengers?
I don't know. One of them seemed kind of foreign. I mean, more.
I'd heard of the Octarine parrot. It made other dives sound appealing. What a place. I could feel the rats in the walls. Hell, I could see the rats in the walls. In fact, some of them had come out of the walls and were sitting at the tables.
Can I help you?
You could sell me a drink.
What's your poison?
I'd prefer whiskey, straight with a whiskey chaser.
You didn't come here to drink, did you?
Well, I didn't come here for the sparkling conversation. Most of the customers go squeak, squeak. This seems like a nice place.
No, it doesn't. It seems like what it is. A wretched hive of scum and villainy.
It's tough to get to the top in that field. You could have that on a sign outside. Come to the Octarine Parrot, the most wretched hive of scum and villainy this side of the Ankh.
Are you being funny?
Apparently not.
You look a little nervous.
I can't shake the feeling that sooner or later someone is going to get their arm cut off. Have you always owned the parrot?
No. It used to be a troll bar. I took over the place after the riots.
Did you keep any of the staff?
Sure. I kept anyone who wanted to stay and wasn't too badly injured by the riots. But there's something about a group of rioting trolls that makes people reluctant to walk back into a place.
Or indeed unable. Did you keep any singers on the staff?
Only Sapphire.
It's not often I see a half-elf bartender.
Be honest. It's not often you see a half-elf.
Okay, you got me. What's the deal?
I don't like to talk about it.
I thought elves were supposed to be irrepressibly likable, so that they can get away with whatever acts of cruelty they want. Like cats.
Well, I'm not an elf, all right?
That's the problem, isn't it? Everyone can see that you've got elf blood in you, but you've got none of the advantages. All you get is people's prejudice.
I don't like your manner.
I'm not selling it. Tell me about Sapphire.
Why don't you just talk to her yourself? Just don't bother her while she's working, all right?
What do you know about a dwarf named Al-Khali?
I know a lot of people. That doesn't mean I want to talk about them with you.
Have you seen two strangers recently? Anyone who seemed more foreign than most?
No.
Do you know of a troll who goes by the name of Malachite? Tall, terse, and dense, in both senses of the word.
Might have been one of the customers from when this used to be a troll bar, but I wouldn't know him if he was.
Do you know someone named Therma? She used to sing here.
That'd be before my time. Sapphire might know. She knew all the troll singers from back before I took over the parrot.
What do you know about a woman named Carlotta?
I know a lot of people. That doesn't mean I want to talk about them with you.
Do you know anything about the recent murders?
Only what you're about to tell me.
You're not very helpful, are you?
Just because I don't want to help you doesn't mean I'm not helpful generically. Say, I do like your hard-boiled dialogue. How long do you boil it?
About 12 minutes from when the water begins to bubble. Do you know anything?
Only what you're not. Just say, how long?
About... I gave Mencken Mundy's description and asked if he'd seen him. He told me that he hadn't. Maybe I could trust him. A half-elf doesn't need to make any more enemies. Do you know anything about the Milka?
If you asked fewer questions, maybe you'd get more answers.
Until later, Mencken. Can we talk?
Certainly look that way. Move mouth, waggle tongue. Yeah, it all working.
My name's Lewton.
Sapphire.
I could already tell that Sapphire was a troll who could look after herself. I knew I'd have to watch my step around her. It was quite a long way round her, too, and not the pretty way. You been a singer here long?
Long enough.
Long enough for what?
Long enough to want to be singing somewhere else.
What do you know about the barman?
Mankin? Not much. Know that him a bigger loser than me.
How come?
He owns this place. At least Sapphire leave if Sapphire wants to.
Why don't you leave?
Where would I go? No place on disc for a troll like me. Spend our whole lives waiting for break. Just one chance to come our way that can seize in both hands tightly. But it never come. Or if it do, we don't recognize it. So we go back to grind of job we hate. And just keep on ticking each day, one step closer to end.
Do you do children's parties? Tell me about yourself.
I'd tell you about myself in 4 words. Big ideas, small results.
Why did you become a singer?
Aren't many jobs for a troll like me. And at least this one honest.
Is honesty important to you?
As much as anything else.
I'm guessing nothing much matters to you right now, Sapphire.
You catch on quick, Lewton.
I gave Sapphire Mundy's description in the hope that she'd seen him around.
Don't ring no bells, honey, but that don't mean much. We get lots of humans through here, and they all look same to me.
Do you know anything about the Milka?
Ask too many questions and a girl loses interest.
I don't suppose you'd know a big troll called Malachite.
Sure, he troll a few words, 'cause he don't know that many.
Do you know where I could find him?
Sapphire not seen him in years, but you try Rodin's workshop. He used to hang out there.
Have you heard of a troll singer named Therma? She used to work here.
Huh, a troll singer named Therma.
What's so funny?
Nothing. Sure, Sapphire know her.
Know where I could find her?
Try morgue. She dead. Her house on Tallow Street collapsed while back now. We trolls may be tough, but we're not indestructible. Rumors say she was practicing her moves and knocked out load-bearing beam. Brought whole place down on top of her. That's why Sapphire never practiced.
That's the only reason.
That, and I don't wanna.
Know where she's buried?
Sapphire don't know, but think they buried her under stage name Madame Lodestone.
Madame Lodestone?
Sure, on account of how attractive she was.
So Therma performed here under the name Madame Lodestone.
Who are you, the narrator? I told you that already.
I'll be back. Hello again.
Hello.
Have you ever heard of a troll by the name of Madame Lodestone?
Madame Lodestone? No, there's a name I've not heard in quite a while.
You know her then?
Well, no, but I've heard of her. She died in some sort of construction mishap.
A mishap, Nobby.
Whatever. Anyway, if memory serves, they put her body in the Soluzione Mausoleum. Don't know how she ended up in such an exclusive establishment, but that's how I heard it.
That doesn't sound very likely.
You did ask.
Catch you later, Nobby. Like measles, maybe. Or athlete's foot. The Soluzione family mausoleum was one of the most beautiful buildings I'd ever seen, nestled in an upmarket part of the city of Ankh. It was unguarded because, quite frankly, no one in their right mind would do anything to offend the Salaci family, given their ties to the Assassin's Guild. It wasn't just something that wasn't done. It was also something that wasn't survived. I tried to find Therma's grave, but it was a waste of time. You'd need to be an expert in heraldry or genealogy to even begin to navigate around it. I'll say this for the nobility. They keep their dead well indexed. Hello again.
Hello.
You wouldn't happen to know your way around the Salaci family mausoleum by any chance?
Give me a break, Lewton. I don't know everything.
Catch you later, Nobby.
You can't recall if the whiskey knocked you flat, or if
I thought I told you never to
Ilsa. I thought I would never see her again. I prayed that I'd never see her again. But either the gods didn't listen, or they were having a laugh at my expense. Knowing the gods of the Discworld, I had a pretty good idea which. Play it again, Sam. You know what? No one's ever going to believe you said that.
Hello, Ilsa. How long's it been?
Too long.
That's funny. I was thinking that it wasn't long enough.
Aren't you pleased to see me?
Sure. Like a jellyfish praying for the tide to come in.
What's that supposed to mean?
If I always knew what I meant, I'd be a genius.
Back then, you always knew what to say.
I still know what to say. I just choose not to.
You're getting a big kick out of making me feel cheap, aren't you? Well, maybe I had it coming.
Hey, don't take my side. You'll take all the fun out of it. I spent years rehearsing what I'd say if I saw you again. What I'd ask you. I tried to imagine what you'd say.
But now I'm here. You can't think of anything to say?
Now you're here, and I just want to slap you. Just once. Across the cheek.
What will that prove?
That I still haven't forgiven you.
You're not making this easy, Lewton.
Did you think I would? Did you think I'd just come bouncing up to you like a trained puppy? Maybe I'd wag my tail and wait for you to throw me a stick. Well, I'm never going to be another woman's dog for as long as I live.
That's cruel.
Not as cruel as the day you left me. What made you ask for that song?
I was feeling sentimental.
It's good to know that you still remember me.
How could I forget?
I don't know. But you managed to leave. I figured you'd probably manage to forget as well.
Never.
I tried to forget you. I tried to forget the day you left. I tried to forget the good times. I tried to drown your memory in cheap whiskey.
And did you forget?
I don't remember.
I still remember you. That's what the song means to me. It's everything that's good about our time together.
You got lucky, Elsa. You got all the good memories, and I got all the bad.
It didn't have to be like that.
It's always like that. I suppose you have some explanation for what you did. Some pat excuse that'll make everything all right.
There's no excuse for what I did.
At least we agree on one thing.
Why do you hate me so much?
Because I had everything when I had you. And when you left, you took everything with you. It's easy to hate someone who took it all away from you.
It hurts to hear you talk like this.
Good. You wouldn't happen to know your way around the Salaci family mausoleum by any chance?
I'm sorry, Lewton. I don't know anything about that.
Have you heard of a singer named Madame Lodestone?
I've not met them. Sorry.
Do you know anyone named Therma?
I've not met them. Sorry.
Do you know a troll by the name of Malachite?
I've not met them. Sorry.
Have you met a man named Mundy?
Yes, there was a man named Mundy on the ship we came in on. He kept himself to himself mostly.
What can you tell me about him?
He seemed nervous.
Anything else?
I remember him going down to the cargo hold at one point. He looked really shifty, as if he was hiding something.
Is that it?
That's all I can think of.
So, you came in on the Milka, did you?
Yes.
Alone?
No, I came with a companion.
It figures.
What?
Women like you are never alone.
I've been alone.
You know nothing about loneliness. You know nothing about what it's like to not know why you've been abandoned. You don't know what it's like to watch your career slip away because the one thing you care about has been taken from you. You don't know what it's like to spend years going into restaurants and asking for a table for one.
You don't eat in restaurants.
Okay, but if I did, that's what I'd ask for.
Why did you ask about the Milka?
You came aboard in Ecclepon, right? With a man.
Yes, his name's Two Conkers. How did you know?
It's my job to know.
You're being paid to find out where people board ships?
No, I'm a private investigator. What do you know about a woman named Carlotta?
I've not met them. Sorry.
What do you know about a dwarf named Al-Khali?
I've not met them. Sorry.
Ilsa had told me she was traveling with a man named Two Conkers. For now, that was all I needed to know. Tell me one thing, Ilsa. Are you involved in these murders?
What?
The murders. They started when you arrived in town.
I can't believe that you would think such a thing. That's terrible. I mean, I know I've done some bad things, but I've never killed anyone in all my life.
Just checking. Can you read this?
Yes, it says Pier 5.
What language?
Agatean.
How do you know an obscure language like that?
Actually, Two Conkers is from the counterweight continent. I learnt it from him.
I thought that people weren't allowed to leave the Agatean Empire.
Oh, things have freed up these days.
I'd be careful who you tell about Two Conkers, Ilsa.
Why?
People can be funny about foreigners, and there's always been rumors about the Empire. They say they use powerful magic there. The last time one of them arrived here, the city got burned down.
Two Conkers isn't going to burn the city down.
You know that, and I know that. But the average man on the street doesn't know that. They see the unknown as a threat.
Why? Two Conkers is harmless. No one's that stupid.
Let me let you in on a little-known secret. You know how stupid the average person is?
I think so, yes.
Well, statistically, half of them are even dumber than that. I found this on the Milka. Does it mean anything to you?
A piece of cardboard with a number on it?
I think it might have something to do with Mundy.
If you've constructed murder and a giant conspiracy out of that, I'm going to be very impressed.
Not yet, but I'm working on it. Don't go far. I might want to shout at you again.
I'm sorry, Lewton.
Not sorry enough. I take it you're the watchman for this warehouse?
Wow. You're sharp. People never work that out. I mean, there are so many reasons that I might want to be out here on a pier in the middle of nowhere, but you went straight to the fact that I'm a watchman. Well done.
That's a real talent you've got there. It usually takes me much longer to take a dislike for someone. Let me guess. Not only are you the watchman for this warehouse, but you are so bored that anyone who comes along is a target for abuse.
You're good. I'll give you that. Sharp as a pancake. What brings you here?
Research. I'm on an investigation.
You with the watch?
No, I work alone.
So you're a criminal.
This is Ankh-Morpork. We're all guilty of something.
I'm not. Pure as the driven snow.
Oh, yeah? Well, you've just directly violated the patrician's laws about groundless metaphor.
What?
Well, can you prove to me that you're as pure as snow?
Ah, but that wasn't a metaphor. That was a simile.
Because, of course, the patrician is going to be swayed by a pedantic defense like that.
I guess you have a point.
Do you know anything about the recent murders in Ankh-Morpork?
That's nothing to do with me.
What do you know about a woman named Carlotta?
Sorry, I don't get to socialize much with this job. It's the night work, you know.
I gave the watchman Al Kali's description. He didn't recognize it. Do you know a troll by the name of Malachite?
Sorry, I don't get to socialize much with this job. It's the night work, you know.
Do you know anyone named Therma?
Sorry, I don't get to socialize much with this job. It's the night work, you know.
Do you know a woman named Ilsa or a man named Two Conkers?
Sorry, I don't get to socialize much with this job. It's the night work, you know.
Do you know anything about the recent murders in Ankh-Morpork?
That's nothing to do with me.
Heard of the Milka?
Sure. Put it in my coffee,
It's a ship.
Yeah, I know. Just winding you up.
Well, I'm already about as tightly wound as I'm going to get. Unless you were planning to use me as an alarm clock, I'd start thinking about being cooperative.
Where's the fun in that?
The Milka?
Oh, yeah. All I can tell you is that they unloaded their cargo here.
What was their cargo?
Oh, I couldn't tell you that. That'd be violating watchman cargo confidentiality.
There's no such thing.
Oh, all right. I just don't want to tell you then. Satisfied?
Ecstatic. When I gave Mundy's description to the watchman, he became animated. Well, not that animated, but more animated than he had been.
That's the one. He tried to break into the warehouse the other night.
You're sure?
Or maybe I just like stringing you along for fun.
What happened?
I scared him off. I'd like to know where he is now, though. It doesn't look good to have people get away with breaking into a place like this. Bad for our reputation.
Oh, I'm sure. Because everyone respects you, and this would just put a total stop to all those dinner party invitations.
Oi, watch it.
Does this mean anything to you?
That's nothing to do with me.
Have you seen any labels like this before?
Oh, sure.
Where?
On crates.
I have this inescapable feeling that I could try and get some useful information out of you about this, but that it wouldn't be worth the time and effort I'd have to spend on the way.
I'd go with that feeling if I were you. I can't wait.
I couldn't carry the crates even if I wanted to. If it wasn't for the watchman, I could probably get in through the doors. As it was, I needed another plan. I'd already had to dive onto the Ankh once. I wasn't about to do it again. I wasn't the Disc's greatest climber, and the warehouse wasn't the easiest building to scale. I was going to need some help. I could hardly carry the desk around, even if I wanted to. The note had been pushed under my door by Carlotta.
Lewton, I am anxious to see you again and to find out how the case is going. Come to the Von Uberwald mansion on Moon Pond Lane. Carlotta Von Uberwald.
So, Carlotta was a member of the Von Uberwalds, one of the richest and most reclusive families in Ankh-Morpork. That explained why she could afford to offer to pay me so much. It didn't explain why she hadn't got around to paying me yet, but I could wait, at least until the rent was due. I already had a bad feeling about the Mundy case, but learning that my employer was a Von Uberwald didn't fill me with confidence. I didn't know the facts about the Von Uberwalds, but the rumors were bad enough.
May I help you, sir?
You could let me in for a start.
Very good, sir.
And don't call me sir.
As you wish, sir. May I take your coat and hat, sir?
Thanks, but no. I feel naked without them.
That must make it difficult to clean them.
Was that a joke?
I never joke, sir. It's not my job. I may lie, dissemble or deceive, but I never joke.
Look, I don't want you to take my coat, okay?
But of course, sir. Sir is welcome to drip all over the immaculate hardwood floor that I spent several hours polishing this morning, because Sir is a guest, and Sir is entitled to do whatever Sir wishes.
Nice house.
Sir's taste in architecture must be quite exquisite to so accurately summarize the many splendid cornices and archaic stained-glass frescoes of this splendid Lorenzian building as nice.
You have a gift for making people feel welcome, don't you?
One is blessed.
Do you know anything about the Milka?
I'm sorry. I cannot assist, sir, in that matter.
Do you know anything about a man named Mundy?
Regrettably, sir, I know nothing about that person.
You wouldn't happen to know your way around the Salaci family mausoleum by any chance?
Sir has many questions, but alas, I have few answers.
So what do you make of Carlotta, then?
Sir?
Carlotta. Carlotta Von Uberwald. She does live here, doesn't she?
Indeed, sir. Sir is as dogged in his pursuit of the truth as he is determined to warp the incalculably valuable hardwood floor by his persistent dripping.
You're not going to give up on this hardwood floor thing, are you?
As ever, sir is both astute and incredibly stubborn.
What about Carlotta?
She is also quite astute and most definitely stubborn.
What do you think about her, then?
I am not paid to form opinions, sir, merely to perform menial actions such as guarding the hardwood floor, a task I am, alas, failing in at the current time.
Will you shut up about the hardwood floor?
As Sir wishes. I will no longer mention how Sir is irrevocably damaging timber felled by the hand of the 77th Earl of Ankh. Boards that have lain here for longer than Sir has been alive, and that were first laid before Sir's father was even a glint in the eye of his grandfather, whomsoever that may have been.
Do you know a woman named Ilsa or a man named Two Conkers?
I'm sorry. I cannot assist, sir, in that matter.
I have an invitation from Carlotta.
Ah, Sir is as quick to reach the point of Sir's visit as a tortoise with a war wound is in crossing a very large desert. I will fetch Mistress Carlotta for Sir, provided Sir would be so kind as to wait here and not to touch the valuable and irreplaceable furniture that adorns the room Sir is currently dripping on.
I'll see what I can do. I couldn't think of a good reason to steal the painting, even though it would have looked great on my office wall. The painting bore a striking resemblance to Carlotta.
The Duchess Charlotte von Uberwald, née Leopoldine. My predecessor, in a sense.
Oh, are you a duchess?
No, but the resemblance is impressive, isn't it? My husband was struck by it from the moment I met him.
Where is your husband?
Dear Ulrich passed away during a civil uprising in Uberwald several years ago. Quite a terrible business, actually. Peasants, pitchforks, burning torches, the usual sort of thing.
Usual?
For Uberwald, certainly. Their ways may seem barbaric, but it's just the way things have always been done. If there wasn't a civil uprising every few years, I do believe the nobility would be most disappointed. Dying at the hands of a mob in a burning castle is practically traditional.
Tradition important to you, is it?
Ever the investigator, eh, Lewton? Even your employer isn't beyond suspicion.
My old boss used to say that everyone was guilty of something.
And what are you guilty of?
Too many things, sweetie, but nothing you need to know about. So what's the story with you and Ulrich?
Do you believe in love at first sight, Lewton?
It saves a lot of time, certainly.
Ulrich fell for me the moment we met. I guess seeing that painting every day probably helped.
Don't sell yourself short. You have a few assets of your own. I'm sure it was an equitable transaction.
You think I married him for his money?
Did you?
Let me tell you something, Lewton. I've been rich and I've been poor. Rich is better.
Did you love him?
Does it matter?
It matters to me.
Maybe I did. I guess it depends on what love is.
Love is a moment of weakness that allows someone to hurt you more than you ever thought possible. Men were given the strength to be brutes to women, and women were given love to wreak their revenge.
Who was she, Lewton?
Who?
The one who left you with such a high opinion of women. She must have been quite a gal.
Do you know a woman named Ilsa or a man named Two Conkers?
Be careful, Lewton. I don't appreciate people wasting my time.
I need your help.
I'm not hard to get, Lewton. All you have to do is ask.
I need your knowledge. I need to find a particular tomb in the Salaci Mausoleum, but I don't know enough about genealogy. You do.
The Salaci Mausoleum? That could be trouble.
Don't worry. I'm not going to mess with the tombs. I know better than to offend a family whose ties with the Assassin's Guild go back to its very foundation. I just want to see if someone's buried there.
Who's the stiff?
A troll named Therma.
A dead troll? You don't get much stiffer than that, I suppose.
Will you help me or not?
Of course, although I'm not really properly dressed for a mausoleum. You don't mind waiting while I get changed?
It's not like Therma's going anywhere.
If Sarah is not too busy, the master of the house wishes a word with you.
And if I am too busy?
The master of the house still wishes a word with you, and I shall be forced to beg.
That sounds like it could be fun.
Did I say beg, sir? I meant resort to violence.
In which case, lead the way.
Mr. Lewton, as I understand it, my daughter-in-law has retained you to investigate a certain matter for her.
That's correct.
Then I take it you will be a frequent visitor to my house.
It seems likely.
Do you know who I am?
I know that they call you the Count.
Do you know why they call me the Count? Because I am a Count. Count Henning von Uberwald. One of the Blints von Uberwalds, I ought to add, because frankly, Uberwald had an uncountable number of counts. and I'm trapped in Ankh-Morpork at the moment because my current infirmity prohibits me from leaving this room.
That doesn't explain why you wanted to see me.
I wish to know what my daughter-in-law has you investigating.
That's between me and her.
No, Mr. Lewton. I rather suspect it isn't. You see, Carlotta's hands are not on the Von Uberwald purse strings, but mine are.
So you're saying I won't get paid unless I tell you what I'm doing?
No, I'm implying that. Whether or not you actually get paid is a different issue.
What's it to you?
I get very bored. I'm interested as to what goes on around me.
All right. I'm tracking someone for her.
Someone who is missing?
That's right. A man named Mundy.
Oh, I see. Very well. If you keep me informed on the progress of the case periodically, I will ensure that you receive payment.
You said you have to stay in the conservatory. Why?
I'm not a well man, Mr. Lewton.
It is hard to say how long I have for this world, or indeed if the next world will take me.
What's so special about the conservatory?
Ankh-Morpork is too hot and humid for my tastes. I had the conservatory built especially. It's colder than the rest of the house. I keep it at the temperature I feel most comfortable with.
Why so cold?
You ask too many questions.
I'm an investigator. It's my job.
Well, be thankful that I find your impertinence charming, or else I might be forced to teach you a lesson.
In your condition?
You would be surprised at just what I can do in my condition, Mr. Lewton.
So you're a count?
I am the Count, yes.
What's it like?
It's fine, although one does get the occasional burning desire to tear out the throat of people who ask too many questions. Do I have to draw you a picture?
What can you tell me about Mundy?
I'm afraid I can tell you nothing. But I would be interested in what you have to say about Mundy.
Carlotta says he's an ex-lover and she suspects him of cheating on her.
And you believed her?
Whether I believe her or not is immaterial. Do you know anything about the Milka?
I'm sorry, but I don't get out of the conservatory much.
Do you know a big, dumb troll who goes by the name of Malachite?
Malachite. There's a name I have not heard in many years. Yes, I know of him.
How?
As it happens, he broke into this mansion several years ago and stole several valuable heirlooms that were never recovered. Incredibly, the City Watch was able to catch him before the Thieves Guild did, and he was imprisoned.
For some reason, I decided not to tell the Count that Malachite had escaped. I had a feeling the troll could still be useful to me. Maybe as a rockery one day. Do you know anyone named Therma?
These days, the only people I know are those who come to the mansion.
Have you heard of a singer named Madame Lodestone?
These days, the only people I know are those who come to the mansion.
Do you know the Selaci mausoleum at all?
I'm aware of it. The Selaci family and the Von Uberwalds do occasionally mix in polite society.
By polite society, you mean high society?
Well, certainly out of your reach.
Is there any chance you could show me around it?
Mr. Lewton, there is little chance that I will leave this room for you or anyone else, let alone travel halfway across town to give you a guided tour of a mausoleum. Also, I confess, it would bring back happy memories of when I was dating.
You took your dates to a mausoleum?
Sometimes. Sometimes my dates lived in mausoleums.
You dated the dead?
No, the undead. They can be terrible bores sometimes, but most vampires are terribly well bred.
Tell me about Carlotta.
I find it impertinent that you should ask questions so boldly of me.
You'll live.
It is fortunate that I find your manner amusing.
I guess this must be my lucky day.
Very well. Carlotta became a member of the family by marrying my son Ulrich, who is no longer with us.
I'm sorry.
Yes, he returned to Uberwald several years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he was dead.
Oh, he is. And, alas, Carlotta is now part of my family, and I have a duty to protect her.
Why do you dislike her so much?
It is not something you should trouble yourself with.
What do you know about a dwarf named Al-Kali?
These days, the only people I know are those who come to the mansion.
Do you know anything about the recent murders?
There are always murders in Uberwald. I don't see why these should be any different.
I was talking about the murders here in Ankh-Morpork.
Mr. Lewton, I couldn't be less interested in the petty crimes of this wretched city.
So your account? What's it?
It's do.
Do you know a woman named Ilsa or a man named Two Conkers?
These days, the only people I know are those who come to the mansion.
Do you know anyone named Therma?
These days, the only people I know are those who come to the mansion.
I'll be back later.
I look forward to it.
Now let's get this straight. We're looking for a troll named Therma.
As far as I know, yes, but she may be in here under the name Madame Lodestone.
Okay, then we can rule out the Fornix Sanguis Ceruleus.
What? Does there have to be one?
The Blue Blood Vault. We can probably eliminate the heroic decapitated war veterans vault and the thoroughbred pet vault. Do you know what relation this troll had to the Selaci family? She wouldn't be buried here if she wasn't.
Well, your guess is as good as mine. It took Carlotta a while to work it out, but we eventually found a Madame Lodestone in the Fornix Famulus, the servitor's vault. Guess she used to keep the floors real clean or something.
Here we are. Madame Lodestone.
There's an inscription. Madame Lodestone, singer and retainer of Lord Robert Selaci, taken from us when her house collapsed, returning her to the rubble from whence she came. Not much of an epitaph. Still, it's more than I expect mine will say. I'll probably end up with whatever's written on the cement bag round my feet. Carlotta? Carlotta? She disappeared without even a word. I couldn't work that woman out. Still, she'd found me the tomb, which left me trying to decide whether or not to tell Malachite. I tried to move the slab, but it was far too heavy. That wasn't going to help me move the slab. You're a tough troll to find, Malachite. You could say something. Okay, so I'll do the talking. Well, I think I found Therma's body. It's in the Salachi Mausoleum.
Need to see body. Take me there.
Okay. Nice to see someone dealing with the grieving process at high speed. Cut straight to the acceptance. It saves a lot of time, doesn't it? I don't know why I bother sometimes. Not as if he's listening to me. Maybe it'd help if I hit him with something, like maybe a really heavy building.
Need to see body.
Of course you do. Here's the tomb.
Need to see body.
Hey, it's going to be pretty ugly in there. I mean, she was crushed under a house. That'd mess up even a troll.
Need to see body.
Malachite pushed the slab off the tomb like he was opening a jam jar. Inside was some rubble that I assumed was Therma's body. Frankly, there wasn't much to go on. Trolls are rocks, and that's the whole story.
Not Therma. Keep looking.
Are you crazy? How could you tell?
Not Therma. Keep looking.
I was beginning to wonder if Malachite was mad. If he was, I could at least make use of it. Okay, I must be a heel. All right, I'll keep looking. But I've got a problem. There's this building I need to get into, but I can't do it. I need a grappling iron. A grappling iron like the one you have. Look, I need to borrow your grappling iron. Do you understand?
Give you hook. You find Therma.
That's the deal. I couldn't help but wonder what it meant if that rubble wasn't Therma. Had Sapphire lied to me? I wouldn't be surprised. Frankly, I was more surprised by people telling me the truth than telling lies. Lies flow like water, but the truth burns. That's not a bad line. I better write that down. Malachite gave me the grapple and left the mausoleum without another word. I examined the body closely, but all I could see of interest were the troll's diamond teeth glinting at me. I examined the body closely, but all I could see of interest were the troll... All my best instincts told me not to take the tooth, but I just ignored them. The skylights... The skylight was locked tight. Breaking into the warehouse was easier than I thought, but then I was a natural pessimist. Living in Ankh-Morpork did that to a man. What little light there was in the warehouse was coming through the skylight, and shadows played on the walls as I searched for something to help the case. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I was desperate enough that anything would do. The torn matchbook fitted precisely to the scrap of cardboard I'd found on the Milka. There was nothing I could do with the stage other than be glad I didn't have to perform on it. I'm back, so I can see. Do you know what this is? It's a matchbook. Any reason it might have the address of the parrot written on the back? None that has anything to do with me. I knew he was hiding something. The question was, how could I get it out of him? I'm against unnecessary violence. Besides, these skinny types can be tougher than they look. So you don't know Mundy? I've already told you that I don't. And this matchbook means nothing to you? Do you practice to become this irritating? Well, I'm confused. You see, this is Mundy's handwriting on the matchbook, and this is your address he wrote. Shall I tell you what I think? I don't think I have that much choice. I think Mundy is here, but he told you not to tell anyone that he's here. You're just making it up as you go along. Well, I could always go and fetch the watch. I heard they were looking for Mundy too, and if he's not here, you wouldn't have to worry about being charged with hiding a known fugitive. They can get so impatient. Mundy's not a fugitive. How would you know? You little... All right, you win. He's upstairs, but don't tell him I told you. I wouldn't dream of ruining your reputation in high society. Until later, Mankin. I'd gone to a lot of trouble to find Mundy, and now the goal was in reach. It seemed like an anticlimax. I couldn't quite see what Mundy was doing when I entered his room, and seconds later I couldn't see anything at all. The last thing I saw as I passed out of consciousness was the floor rushing up to meet me.